That was fun, right? Did the video thing, the little countdown. I was like jamming to the music. So, hey, good morning. We're here. We're live. It looks like the video worked. We already got some people on here, so that's great. If you're checking in with us, please drop a comment. Let us know that you're here. Say hello. If you're in our Facebook group, sorry, if I'm looking this way, I have another monitor where I have our Facebook group. So, hey,
Morning,
Ray.
Brad.
Hey, Brad.
Oh, fellow Canadian. All right.
Yeah, Ray's in the house. Brad's in the house. Brad's always around. Good to see you, Brad. He's on the other side of Canada.
Yes.
He's in Ontario, not too far up above us. I'm trying to find our videos like not showing up when I click on in the Facebook group.
Wow. All of a sudden, all these people popped in.
Yeah. So, it does that sometimes where like there's nothing and then like they all come flying through. So,
Great.
All right, good morning. Let's do this. All right, we got Ray. Good morning, Ray. Good morning, Brad. Brad loves the countdown. I'm glad, Brad. That's awesome. Glad you like it. I work primarily to meet your expectations and make you happy, brother. Ray saying such an awesome group. This is an awesome group. Ray's super jealous right now. That's what's going on. I'm telling you that. Hey, Van, how are you? Nikki, Natalie's here. Candace is here.
Brianna.
Carrie's here. Lindsay's here. Brianna's here. Amanda's here. We were just celebrating Amanda and Maggie in our ambassadors group because they're amazing. Oh man, Megan's here. Ray just keeps posting stuff. Dave Schmitto says, "My friends, good to see you, Dave." Ray's confirming that she is jealous. Kimberly's here. Jen's here. Maggie's here. Oh, and just everyone. Sigh of relief. Holly Stewart's here, so we can officially start. We're able to start now. It's okay. And see, that's what I'm trying to get in our group because I'm trying to see who that is that just said good morning, and I can't because of Facebook's thing. So let me. Oh, I got it now. Give me 2 seconds here. So while I'm doing this, since I'm not being very good here, let's go around. I got 3 amazing ambassadors with us right now. Amazing educators, Livia and Caitlyn and Sami. Super excited that you were able to get up this morning with me and hang out and have some fun this morning and hopefully share some value and stuff. So can we kind of go around and just introduce yourself, let everybody know where you're at and then what your role is in education, and then we'll kind of roll from there. So Livia, you want to kick us off?
Sure, I'd love to. First of all, welcome everyone. It's so great to see so many of our friends here online joining us. I am Livia Chan from Vancouver, BC, and up in Canada, and I will be heading into a new role as a head teacher and also teaching grade 5. I'm one of the ambassadors for the Teach Better team, and I've been loving every minute of being a part of the team and everything that you put on here. Just happy to be here.
Awesome. Caitlyn?
Sure. Hi, I'm Clayton, and I'm an 8th grade ELA teacher in Central Illinois. I teach in a rural district, and I am very excited to be an ambassador. This program has been really great for me, and I'm excited to be with you all this morning.
And Sami?
I am a 4th grade teacher. I teach science in rural Ohio, about northeast-ish. I have been a Teach Better groupie for the past couple years, and when the opportunity to become an ambassador came around, I jumped on that. I put my family on hold for like that hour to submit my application. I'm like, nobody move, nobody use the internet. I need everything I can to get this in because I knew it was going to go quick. And they humored me and were off their devices for an hour.
That was nice of them. Sami, you really have been around for a while, like connected with us for years. I think, were you connected with us before we flipped to Teach Better when it was the grid method? I think were you?
I don't know. I think
you might have been.
I might have been.
No, you sure? Okay, you might have been. I don't know. Sometimes I don't remember when that was. So, some more good mornings really quick. Jamie, good to see you. Alex, glad you could drop in before going off to work this morning. Sydney, good to see you. Michelle, good morning. Jessica, good morning. Loving it. Amanda says, yay, Sam. Or is that Sami? Whatever. And Jamie says, hi, Livia. Michelle says she did the same thing. So that's good. It did go really fast, the applications. They went really quick. So I think when we open them up again, it's going to be a little bit different to give people a little more time. So maybe there's a little less like freak out and have to put your family on hold kind of thing. So I don't know, or maybe we'll do it again because that's kind of fun. So we'll see. So we started the daily drop-ins. We're doing this week and next week every day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 9 a.m. here. We are on Facebook page. We are on our Facebook group. We're on Twitter. We're on YouTube, and we're on Twitch. These are all about supporting our community, supporting educators. And as we're getting ready to get back in, a lot of people are maybe possibly even started already back into the school year or getting ready to. I think Sami said next week is yours. There's a lot of unknowns. There's a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety, a lot of just trying to figure it out, a lot of watching day to day, hour to hour as things might change. I know Chad was talking yesterday. We were in a mix of a workshop with a district that was going back full blown. And in the middle of the workshop, they all got an email that said, hey, we're going fully virtual. Yeah. And it was just this moment. He's like, that's how quick it is. It's just, it's crazy. So I'd love to know from Dave. Caitlyn wants to know, he wants to be awesome like you. Like, what's your secret sauce? Can you share that with Dave?
Well, I think honestly, Dave, that's a hard question. I would say for me, everything that I do revolves around what makes the environment better for my students. And so, if it makes it good for my students, then it most likely is going to be good for me as well. So I try to keep up with what's going on in education on a regular basis. And Dave's somebody I keep tabs on.
There you go, Dave. So in order to be awesome like Caitlyn, Dave, you just need to follow yourself a little bit. It's cool. You got it, buddy. So let's talk about I want to go back to the shift in the spring of this instant shift where we had to go and figure out how to go from normal life to virtual, right? And everything like that. And then sort of how that went, maybe talk about your biggest struggle of that switch, and then how you've kind of adjusted to that and learned through the summer and what you're taking into the new year. Sami, let's go to you first since you start next Wednesday. I want to hear what was the initial, when the initial change came, what was the biggest struggle that you felt that you kind of ran into, and then how did you get by that, or did you not get by it, I guess?
I guess the biggest struggle was just what do we do? We've never been in this position where we're sending kids all remote. Not all of our kids had devices. So how do we get information to all of them? So some kids were on packets, some kids were online. So the whole organization part of it was kind of crazy for a little bit, because just trying to figure out who's doing what. I'm not hearing from this kid. I can talk to this parent every day and I'm good with them, but I don't know how some of these kids are. I was.
Oh, is she breaking up for everyone else, or is that just me?
Yes, same.
Yes, she is.
Oh, Sami, you froze on us. I'm not sure. Oh, hey, you're back now. That's all right. Hey, welcome to the world of virtual, right?
Yeah.
So some kids were on packets, some kids with that, so some kids didn't have the device. So then you kind of started freeze framing with us. I look like you might be again. Okay. Sami, do me a favor, jump out and then come back into the link. Sometimes just that refresh of the connection will be enough to get you good. So there you go. So we'll get it there. So same question to both of you. Caitlyn, what was that like? What was your initial, mindset? What was the struggle with? And then how did you kind of get through that? And I think a big one is, what are you taking from what we had to learn so quickly into now this new school year? Because you're starting back. When do you start back?
Next week too. Yeah.
Next week too, right? And you're going back, everyone in the building. That's the plan right now, right?
That's the plan right now.
4 days or 5 days a week?
5 days a week.
5 days a week. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So what are you taking from these lessons that we had to learn into this new school year?
Sure. Well, I think I had a similar situation to Sami. Our kids didn't all have devices. And in rural communities, you have internet issues as well, because service providers don't necessarily come out to our area to provide, and what's provided is not necessarily reliable. So we had packets, and communication, honestly, was the hardest part. I think getting a hold of kids and families, figuring out who's doing packets and who's able to connect online. And so what I've learned from this and what I'm taking into this fall is over communication. I don't think it exists in this kind of platform, this learning platform. So I post daily videos for my students. So they get a rundown every single day of, this is your expectation. I created a a PowerPoint that they could click on links for every day. It would take them directly to their assignments, just simplifying the process for them. And then my team, we put together an assignment sheet for the week. So every day was laid out for every subject. So it's easy access for parents and for our students. I think if you can simplify your communication, simplify it for students, but be very, very present for them, that is critical in these times.
What's that?
While taking care of yourself. I also took my laptop and hid it at 4:00. I put it under my couch so I couldn't get it. That's
crucial. You know, that brings me to a conversation I was having with a friend of mine who's not a teacher, who has a lot of respect for teachers, but is not a teacher. And she said, you know, about this idea, because a lot of schools are, whether you're back all the time or you have half the kids in, half the kids out, or there's some schools that are doing like, well, you're in the school, you know, 8 to 3 or whatever that might be. But the kids, like the second half is virtual, and some of all this stuff is that. She's like, well, at least they'll be back on like a normal schedule, right? And I'm like, well, the problem is, I said, I know teachers, which means if some of their kids are learning virtually and they can't learn and they can't access things, they can't get into things until 8, 9, 10 at night because parents work or whatever it might be. I'm like, that means those teachers are on at 8, 9, 10 at night too. Because while, yes, we can all say that you need to unplug and you can say, hey, I'm answering emails at this time and this time, that's it. I'm sorry, I know teachers. Like, you're not going to sit and be like, oh, well, kid, I saw that email come through at 9, but I'm going to wait till 8 in the morning to help. No, you're going to do it. And that's my worry, is that we're going to look at like 21-hour days because of just the way that, you know, your heart guides everything that you do and the passion for what you do. And so that's a big worry of mine. When you have, Sami, let's get you back in. So where are you at? What are you trying to take into this year that you kind of got from these abrupt lessons that we had to learn?
Kind of like what Caitlyn was saying, the over communication. I'm going to do the videos every day. I'm working on a website so that the kids that are in class and the kids that are out of class are getting the same information. They all have the same website that they can go to. All their resources that they're going to need is all in the same place. And all those videos are going to be posted there for them. And so they know, for whatever lesson they're doing, they'll know what those expectations are. And it just something that them to go back to later on too, also, that they forget what they're doing or they weren't quite sure what they were supposed to do. They can go back and rewatch the videos again, even if it's at 8 o'clock at night.
So then you are... Yeah, so they're able to access it all the time with the videos. They have that universal. Yeah, you're going back. You just told me 4 days a week, right? With Mondays off, but everyone back. Right? Do you have some students that are opting out to go virtually, or how is that? Okay, you did have that option.
Yeah, and I think yesterday with the governor making that decision that mass K-12, that might opt more kids out of coming.
I'm thinking, yeah, what she's referring to is Governor DeWine in Ohio yesterday came out and said K through 12 students mandate they have to wear a mask all the time. So up to now it was optional. Up till I think it was high school they had to, but K to 7 or something like that could, I don't know. It was a weird split. Now it's just everyone. So we'll see how that goes. Livia, you actually went back for a little bit to end your school year back in person. When do you start back? What's the schedule like? And then same sort of questions, like what are you taking in based on what you learned when you had to abruptly switch to virtual, but then when you also went back and got a little taste of this socially distanced classroom and hybrid model and stuff, and what's that look like for you coming this fall or coming next week or whenever it might be? When do you start back?
Well, we ended our school year in June, so we actually don't start up again until September the 8th. Okay. So I still have a bit of time. I'm probably midway through my summer right now.
That's my anniversary. Just saying.
Oh, happy early anniversary.
I'm super glad I just remembered that when you said it. That's great.
Well, I'll remind you.
Sorry. Thanks.
On the first day of school, I'll remind you.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah,
I didn't mean to interrupt.
So back in June, we reopened schools because we just needed to restart our economy back in at that time. And that was the plan, is let's start school, even though we were still in progression 1. But it was an option for students to return. And I had 24 students, 6 students return. And, you know, it was an interesting experience because we went from the first time remote to a hybrid model. My kids showed up for school 2 days a week on the Monday, Tuesday, and then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday was all remote. And it was, I feel like I've talked about this a number of times in different forums, but when the kids arrived, they were all scared, nervous, tentative. You can see it on their faces, because it was the first time they came back. And probably for a lot of them, the first time they actually even went out. I had a number of kids that really stayed home. They live in high rises and didn't feel comfortable going into the elevator even. Anyhow, we got settled, and after some activities, and really what did it was, I think, after recess, when they can actually get out and play. And then throughout the day, we just did a lot of things to reconnect. And by the end of the day, they were so happy. We did a reflection. How do you feel now compared to how you felt when you came back to school? And it was like night and day. And I think that's what we're going to find, is that when kids come back, if your school is opening, you will see all their emotions in their faces. And yes, they'll be excited to see each other, but they will have all those feelings that they sort through. I mean, I would think about the first time I stepped out into the home, or out of the home, to go shopping. It's like everything, you just don't want to touch anything. You don't really want to breathe too heavy. But I think it's just that comfort level that eventually you become accustomed to that environment, and you kind of start to see, okay, this is safe. My teachers have made it safe for me to return. And the number of times that we washed our hands, that kind of reminds us, okay, we are keeping ourselves safe. And so, they were just so happy at the end of the day, and they were so excited to come back the next day. And there is something, and we know how it feels when you see your family, right? Or your friends, because we've been hunkered down in our homes. It's just, all you want to do is hug them, but you can't. So, all I do is I just hug myself really tight, and we just kind of go, ooh, and it feels pretty close. Not quite the same, but it feels pretty close. And I think just what I'm taking into the new year is just the idea that, we're in this together, and that I'm not alone. Every time that I have reached out to somebody else, or when we've worked as grade groups to plan and just talk and think through how we're going to do this, everybody at the end of it has just felt so much calmer. So, if there's anything, reach out to people who support you. And, that's something that I've just so loved and appreciated about the Teach Better team and all my new friends that I've met. All of us are here and available to support anybody that's watching, and you just need to reach out. And I know, sometimes it's hard to, especially if you don't know any of us, but just find one of us that kind of is some one of us that you feel comfortable with, and just reach out.
We got all their Twitter handles are on there for a reason, so that you can reach out just in case. You can also ask questions now. I got a couple I'm going to go to. Livia, when you went back and then now going, are you going full blown back 5 days a week? But kids have the option?
Well, technically they didn't say they have the option, but I think they always do, right? So even though, that's what I was thinking, even though we're told that we're face-to-face 100% 5 days a week, I still need to plan as if it's hybrid, because at any point it could change. It could be midday, right? So I always need to think about how I am planning my tasks so that it can just switch on a dime.
Yeah, I've been telling everyone that I've talked to, like, you need to be planning everything for fully virtual,
right?
And putting together the best possible learning experience you can, fully virtual. And then after you get that figured out, okay, if I'm back in for 4 days or 3 days or 2 days, whatever, how am I going to enhance? How am I going to use that extra time or that in-person time that I get with, whether it's 6 kids or my full class, whatever it is, so that you can try to enhance. That's, building relationships, small group stuff, intervention that's needed. But, like Sami talked about, like they're going to be able to access those videos at 8:00 at night if they have to, because some kids are going to have to. Like, that's just the reality of it. So, and I think that's just good practice all the time, honestly, to have that universal access regardless. So now,
and on that, I was Tim Cavey had mentioned something about asynchronous learning, and so when I thought about what he was saying, it's thinking, he called it the asynchronous mindset, and it's about videotaping while you're in class, because they're always, especially in this time, for us anyway, if you have any of those symptoms, sore throat, cough, any of those symptoms, you have to stay home for 14 days. So even though, like I said, even though we're going face to face, there will be kids that won't be at school. So how do we support them and in that? And so I was thinking, I need to record while I'm teaching. And, it's good practice anyway, because some of my students might need to review the math lesson or what have you, right? And so just having that in place, I think will help my students, like all of them, regardless if they're face-to-face and they need to see the video again, or if they have stayed at home for the last 10 days.
So good question. And any of you, whoever wants to jump in can, from Jamie saying, have you figured out the routine you will use to provide continuous personalized academic feedback to students, regardless of the model, hybrid, virtually, or in person? And we want to jump on that. What do you think? And where's your thought process when it comes to that continuous personalized feedback?
I think when we're in class, if they're in person, that feedback will be no problem. Like, as they're working through grid stuff, that feedback will just be normal. My struggle is going to be when we're doing the remote, because I won't necessarily be available at all hours of the day. I'm going to attempt to make like an appointment thing in Google Calendar where they can go in and schedule an appointment with me, and we'll have a personal like Zoom meeting, just me and the student and the parents, so that we can check progress and stuff. And the kids can set it up, or I can try and set it up around their schedule so that I'm still connecting with the kids as much as possible.
Is that built into Google Calendar, or are you using like a Calendly, or what do you?
Well, I saw Ray's Calendly the other day, and I thought that was
I love it. It's
neat.
like the best thing I've ever done in my life is start using Calendly. It's so much easier for like multiple schedules. So like something you can, because then you can block off on that Calendly when you're available, and they just pick whatever works for them and their parents or whatever, and then you set that up. So yeah, Calendly, and there's a free version. You can do quite a bit with the free one. So it's a nice setup. And if you need multiple calendars, just use other email addresses. Anyway, so interesting. So what about Caitlyn? What about you? What are your thoughts on when it comes to this, the feedback, the continuous feedback? Now you're back in right now, but assuming that it might shift or might change a little bit, what are your thoughts at?
When it came to virtual, it can be overwhelming. I remember last spring, like, how am I going to get to all of these kids, and they're at an individual basis? I offered office hours. They could come in if they needed them for help. I focus less on the grade and more on the overall quality of their work. What can I give them feedback wise that will help them to improve the biggest issue? But just offering them like little opportunities. I had a Google Voice account so they could text me and ask me questions. Now you do lend to the text at 11 o'clock at night where they're saying, I don't get this. But I just reply saying, hey, I'll get back to you at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. So, being open to them and letting them know that you have boundaries, but also letting them know that you'll get to them as soon as you can when it comes to feedback. It's being vulnerable with your kids and expressing, hey, I'm human too, and this is crazy for me as well. I find that my kids are like, yeah, you're right. This is crazy for everybody. Get to me when you can. So,
but letting them know, hey, I got this. I'm going to get to you, but like I'm asleep. I'm sleep texting you right now. So Ray said that there is where was that? It was somewhere. She said Google has a feature like Calendly built in too. So, and then who was it? Kristen said she's using campfire groups, which you read about from Jennifer Gonzalez. I'm not sure what campfire groups there are. I mean, for our team, we use something called Basecamp, which has campfires, but I'm guessing that's not what she's talking about. So interesting to hear more about that. I don't know, Kristen, maybe you can throw a link in for what that is. that'd be awesome. Another resource there. So, Livia, what about you? You know, you had a little like I said, a little taste of it there. What are you doing? What's your plan now for the fall here for that communication, that feedback, and keeping it consistent and personalized, regardless of what the actual model looks like?
Mm-hmm. I was thinking that we're Office 365 district.
Okay.
So I was thinking I would continue with using OneNote, and a lot of our activities will probably be on that. And so I would just continue giving them feedback that way, especially because I want to make it so that if we had to go virtual, that it's just seamless. And,
Yes.
Obviously, we will be doing some work. And I think I don't really want to touch their paper either, right? So
Sure.
if they're working on their own devices and whatnot, I'll be mindful of the balance between virtual or digital and things that they do with their hands. But I think that's probably the easiest too, because then if I don't have time, and that's one thing that I loved about going virtual, is I felt like I had the time to respond to them. Because in class, with everything else going on and having to check in with other students, there was only so much time for each student. Whereas now I had all this time, and I did spend a lot of time. There's some days I spent probably 4 or 5 hours giving feedback.
Absolutely.
And this was every day. And I kept on thinking, how am I going to sustain this? Because, but there was an endpoint, right? So it was only 3 months. But now I have to think,
it's a little longer.
I cannot, I don't know how I'm going to do this for 10 months, but, I'm thinking around how I give that feedback. And, I teach grade 5, so it's everything, right? Everything they need feedback on. It's not just one particular subject, but that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, so Kristen did post from Jennifer Gonzalez, the one that mentioned the campfire. Andrea mentioned Flipgrid is a great option for feedback. I was also thinking, when you were talking about not wanting to touch the paper, I don't know if you're familiar with Floop. Floop.edu, which is a feedback tool where they can snap pictures of their assessment, and then it becomes a text message conversation where you can annotate on the picture. I think they're adding voice. I'm not sure if that's out yet or not. Or you actually have voice back and forth as well. But that's a great way. Like, even if they're in their class, they can snap one, send it back and forth, and it keeps it in there.
Right. I can do that in OneNote, so they can snap a picture, and I've got
audio
that I can record and or type on or write on. So it's kind of a nice.
Well, I gotta give a shout out to my Floop girls, because they're awesome, Christine and Melanie. Also, I mean, and also just another little nod to them. And no, they're not paying me, but like everything that they do is ridiculously entrenched in data and research based around feedback. So just a great group to follow in general. But so 4 to 5 kids that meet as a group every so often, it will be a great way to connect, get to know each other. Okay, I like the campfire group. That's cool. So then you can check in. That's really cool. I like that. So Andrea, let me make sure I get the right link. So I'm going to type it in real quick. I think it's Floop.edu. Floop.edu, it is not. It's floopedu.com, maybe. I'll find it. I promise. Maybe. I might have figured it out. Yep, there it is. I'm going to drop that in real quick. So what else is on your minds right now as you prepare to go back? Where is there anything that any of the three of you are working on that you're maybe still feeling stuck on, or particularly, I don't want to say scared, worried about, concerned about, feeling a challenge of right now as you get back in? Or are you feeling pretty good? Sami, how you feel? I know you talked before that your floors aren't even done yet, right? I assume, is that the social distancing stuff that they're doing with your floors? Is that what's not done, or?
That's just the waxing. The hallways.
Oh, okay. You just don't have. Okay, it's the waxing. It's the typical stuff that's getting in the way now, huh?
Yeah, and I guess my biggest struggle right now is, how am I going to fit my kids at desks, social distance in my room?
Yeah.
And I don't have the little desk. My desks are a little bit longer. And so to separate my kids out, because I think we figured the class size for 4th grade this year is kind of small. So I think we figured there'll probably be between 12 and 15 kids if everybody comes in a class. So I got to figure out how to have 12 desks distanced.
So do you not have that yet? Do you not know how many kids are coming back? Because I know yours was everyone's going back, but I'm sure there's some parents that called and said, "Hey, I can't," and they're letting them opt out and stuff. So you don't have like a list yet to know what you have coming back for sure.
No, they have till Friday to make their final decision. So we hope
that'll give you like 3-4 days, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
2 days.
Plenty of time. I'm good with that.
So your biggest concern is more of a logistical, like how am I going to keep everyone safe in this classroom?
Yeah.
Based on now, is your school, are you doing, like I've seen like shower curtains, there's plexiglass, there's a lot of different solutions for barriers. Are you doing a barrier or you do not know yet?
I don't know yet.
Okay.
I think they're still working through that. I know admin's having meetings trying to figure out what's the best, safest way, most cost-effective way to be able to keep everybody feeling safe. Because like Livia said, having the kids come in, kind of easing their worries and their anxiety of what it's going to be like is going to be, I think, at the front of our minds right now. It might not be so much the curriculum. It might just be how do we make the kids feel okay.
Yeah, you got to get them to that point before you can even touch the curriculum with any kind of effectiveness at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Livia.
What I did was before they showed up, I actually took a video. And so I talked them through. I said, okay, so welcome back. You're coming back on Monday. And this is what your new classroom will look like. And so I walked them through. Because they were lining up outside. So they had markers. And, I saw other people, they had just put tape. And I thought, no, I gotta find a more welcoming way. So I actually made hearts. And then I on the hearts, I had little messages. So I said things like, it was just little tips on what they are to say to each other when they see each other. So say, nice to see you. Say, how are you? Say, I missed you. And so it was cute because I can hear them kind of reading. Like there's one recess when they were waiting outside. They were reading these notes and they were just kind of joking with each other going, oh, how are you? And I missed you. But, it just made it a little bit more welcoming. But anyways, back to the point. Then I took a scan of the room. I was in a portable before, so I had to move into the main building in the library. And so it was also a new space for them, right? And so just kind of talk them through, this is where you're going to be sitting. And then I walk down the hallway so that they can visualize what it's like, rather than them coming in and everything's new for them. Yeah. So just kind of explain to them a little bit about the washroom and then kind of walk back and then that way I thought that they can hear my voice as well. And for them, I think that made a difference, because you can imagine ourselves, right? If you're walking back to school, if your principal, say, were to take a video of what it looked like, then I think it would ease your mind a little bit more. Yeah.
I'm thinking, Livia, did you share that with your stakeholders, your families at home too? Because I think that could be a great way for parents who feel like they need to, or they want to try and send their kids back for whatever their decision is, or they have to, but are still feeling anxious at home, still worried to see, hey, I am thinking through this. I am concerned about your kids. I'm going to take care of them. Here's what we're doing. Walking through the hallways. Like, here's the things we put out in the hallways. Here's what the cafeteria is going to look like. Here's what we're doing in my classroom. I think will allow them not only to feel a little bit less of that anxiety, but also then be able to have a good conversation with their kids about it, watch it together and stuff. At least I'm from a parent standpoint, I'm saying like that would be fantastic.
Yeah.
Right now we don't even know when our kids are starting back at this point. So I'm not sure what it's going to look like, but they're going virtual. But yeah, that's a great idea with the video.
And it takes away some of the unknown, right? Like,
exactly.
They know what the school looks like, but it will be different. And I think it just really calms their fears about what it looks like. And yeah, like you were saying, you walk them through.
I like it. Where else are we at? Caitlyn, what's going on in your mind as you get in here?
Yeah, I think for me, I'm more concerned at this point about the school culture. So when the kids come in, are they feeling positive? Are they feeling anxious? So what we can do as a building to help develop that positivity starting right off the bat. And I'm privileged to work with an excellent group of student leaders through our student council program. And so those kids will be meeting Monday next week. And we've got some things. I don't want to give it away because we've got some teachers from my school in this group. but some really awesome ideas of some fun things that we can do to help alleviate some of that stress and start things off on good footing. Hans Apple has been great as a resource for that. His book, Award-Winning Culture, I can't say enough about it. I've enjoyed reading it. It's affirmed some of the things I believe in as an educator, but lots of great ideas. And he also has lots of great virtual ideas for you. I think his book came out at a really great time for us. We're seeing a lot of negativity about schools, I think, right now. And it's anxiety is really where it's stemming from. I don't think it's us versus parents at this point. It's we don't know what the best thing is for our kids, and we're anxious about it. And so if we can create this culture of positivity and put our school in a positive light, I think it will really help everybody out.
And I think that communication with those parents, families has to be turned up. I don't even know, like 10 times right at this point, right? Because people are scared of what they don't know. And the anxiety, and I mean, you turn on the TV, if you watch any kind of news, local, national, whatever you want to call it, like it's an anxiety inducing, and things are changing so fast right now. It's not even day to day. It's literally like hour to hour, minute to minute, that the consistent communication, I think, is really important. We talked about this in our admin mastermind, of this consistent communication with your staff of like, look, you're going to hear from me every Monday and Wednesday with updates. If something emergency happens, I'll get it to you sooner, but you're going to hear from me Monday, Wednesday. So if you haven't heard from me Tuesday, it's okay, because I'm going to update you on Wednesday so like you can relax. And maybe it's more than that. But I think the same to your stakeholders, your students, like, hey, like you're going to get an update from me about how our school's doing, how our class is doing, stuff like that on these days and these means. I'm always available here, my hours, whatever. But this constant communication of like, hey, everything's going well. Like, things are good. Kids are being awesome. Masks are staying on. We're washing our hands constantly. Like, your kids are doing amazing. Those little things are going to help those parents stay a little bit, which is going to also help the students feel less anxiety coming into the classroom. Because I do think, like Livia mentioned earlier, like once they get in there and they get around their friends, even though it's social distance, stuff like that, like they're gonna chill out. Like their kids are gonna have some fun, but they might go back home. Then there's anxiety inside the home, anxiety amongst the community that they're in, and then they come back the next day and it's like a reset again and again, which is not healthy at all. So,
so one thing that I did though, so when they returned at that night, because as a parent, I don't know how many times you ask your child, well, how did school go? You might get a little snippet, right? So what I did is I made sure that after that day, or after the school day, I sent home an email to my parents and just kind of gave them a little rundown. This is what we did. This is how the day went, and just shared with them how, their feelings in the morning compared to their feelings when they were going home. Mm-hmm. And even though the parents saw how happy they were at the end of the day, I think there's a mystery as to how the day actually went, right? And they're hearing from the child's point of view, whereas I think just hearing it from the teacher's point of view, that made a big difference for them, because anytime that we can communicate with our parents how things are going and even how I'm feeling, if I'm coming across as somebody that is confident in our safety plans and how we're keeping their children safe and how they're keeping each other safe, then there's less worry too, because every day is a decision from the family, right? Every day, do I want to send my child back into this environment that feels unsafe, right? In comparison to keeping them at home. So I think, if we can communicate that to them, it doesn't have to be every day, but I felt that especially the first 2 days, that was really important to do, just to really calm their fears and take away that unknown. I think that's what it is taking away that unknown.
Caitlyn was talking about Award-Winning Culture. It's by Hans Apple, Appel. It's on, you can go to awardwinningculture.com, or it's on Amazon and stuff as well. So
it's excellent. It's a must read.
Yes. It's also on teachbetter.com/bookshelf if you want to look there as well. So, so I'm trying to think through all these questions. So I'm watching all this stuff come through here.
I'm missing them all. I don't know how you do it, Jeff.
It's really hard because I'm trying. I try not to. I know I get too distracted by them, but I'm trying to make sure I'm also listening, paying attention, so that I'm here with you. But it's awesome when they gets going like this, because that just means you all providing value, which is making people want to talk and there's conversations going on. And Danielle just posted a link to that book by Hans Apple, so that's there as well. So now I'm curious, and we sort of touched on some of them, but like, where are you at right now? Sam, let's go to you. Like, where you at right now is how are you already communicating with your stakeholders at home, and what's your primary go-to? Do you have a plan in place, a schedule in place? Are you still trying to figure that out? Like, where are you at on that?
In the past, we've used Remind before. We've used Class Tag before. When we went remote last year, we made a Facebook group with just our parents in it, because Class Tag and Remind, they're good for communicating, but some of the things that we were doing, the kids were taking pictures and doing videos, and we thought it would be easier for the parents just to post them in there, and then they can see each other rather than parents just sending it to us. They can see their friends in there. We did some Zoom meetings with the kids last year. We didn't get a whole lot of parents coming in to the meetings because the timing doesn't always work for everybody. I think the main thing this year we're going to work on is using the website and putting our videos onto the website so that the parents can see. I liked Livia's idea of, at the end of the day, having that video or message, just telling the parents, here's what happened today. Here's what the day looked like, so that maybe you could add some questions in there that they could ask their kid, like, hey, in math class today, what did you learn about? Like, what was that activity that you did? Can you explain it? Can we do it here at home? So I think that's great jumping off points for the parents and the kids to open that line of communication up.
Agree. I definitely would. Facebook groups, I think, are just so powerful because of that. And because regardless of what anybody tries to tell you, everyone's on Facebook. And actually Facebook's usage right now is up 79%. Wow. To give you an idea of how much more that is than everywhere else, Twitter's up 8% since the pandemic. So like the people that are, and your parents are most likely on there, right? So they don't have to go anywhere else. So it's this great spot to be. So like the Facebook, as a parent, I love that because, like, again, it's pictures, videos, things like that. You can go live, you can do all those types of things. So and you can manage the privacy settings, right? And keep things, safe inside there too. So yeah, I think that's a great place. I think, talking about putting the videos up so they can see it. I love the idea of providing parents with questions they can ask to kind of try and spark some of the things. 'Cause a lot of times you ask your kid, how was school today? They don't, if you knew what to ask to like trigger that response, you might actually get, now if it's my son, you're still not going to get anything, but you might get something from them, right? I always joke that that's where I was, is like, my son will come home and tell me 5 billion things that have nothing to do with school. And I'll be like, well, what'd you do in school? And I'm like, and he's only 8. Like, I don't even know, like, as you get older, it gets even worse. Right. So having the Facebook groups, their teachers have always had Facebook groups, and I've always loved that because I get to see into the world a lot more. And that was before the pandemic stuff. Right. So it's even more so now. So I love that.
Trick my kids.
What's that?
I used to trick my kids when they were young, because I would ask them, so what did you do in school that I can use in my classroom? Right. So then instead of just saying, oh, how was school today? That's such a general question for them. But, to ask it that way, I always got something out of them.
That's good. I like that. It's a good trick there. Andrea says she adds a parent challenge to the emails to get them more directly involved with students' classwork. I love that as well. I've also seen where especially with time of, with remote learning, teachers or parents who are going to be either already set to be helping their kids more with the schoolwork at home, or may potentially, if we get into hybrid or have to go virtual for a little while or whatever. I've seen some, and I don't know if any of you have done that or not, is sort of like the videos of the directions, the tutorials, even a Zoom, like, meetup meeting with your parents on, hey, here's how to use these digital tools we have in place. So that if we do have to go hybrid, we do have to go that, or if your child is already staying at home, here's how to walk through and do that, I think is really important as well. So
on that note, Jeff, that's one thing that I did when we went back to school. Right before we reopened schools, I had planned a parent Zoom meeting, because I was thinking, our parents are also a community, right? So they see each other in the mornings, they see each other after school.
Yes, connecting them, yes.
Yes, and they they didn't get a chance to see each other. And some of them aren't really friends. So they don't, friends outside. So they don't have.
They might not be texting each other daily, right? But
yeah. And some of them don't. They enjoy the small chit chat and hey, how's it going? And updates on their lives. And so I felt it was important to get them together and to, anytime I had any communication to my parents, I always started off with an appreciation because, we can't do this alone. And that's how I see parents is they are our partners, right? Partners in education. And, I feel really strongly about that term because we use it all the time. But if we don't communicate with our parents and tell them what we're working on, well, how are they actually partners in this? Yeah. And even more so, the importance of including them now because that we are part virtual or whatnot is just that much more important. So I had a parent Zoom meeting on the Friday night. I think it was at 7:00 because I thought that I would get more parents involved. And so we had a problem. I'd say around 75% of the parents joined. Nice. There was a couple who couldn't for various reasons. But I videotaped it so that they can watch it later. And it was great because I can personally face-to-face say thank you to them for all their support. Especially with remote, there is no way I could have done, or been as effective, right? And then we just talk through our feelings, just like, I saw this as two sets of classrooms or two sets of students. I have my real students, and then my parents are also my students because, like you're saying, we also have to train them on the software that we're using or platform that we're using, right? In order for them to support our real students. And so we just talked about, just how we're feeling. And then we shared tips because a lot of parents had little tips that that were effective for them that they had shared with me and I had shared it out. But this was just their opportunity to say, oh, this is what's worked for me. And to share that out so that we are more like a community supporting each other. And then we talked about school reopening. So it was like the timing was perfect because when I booked it, we didn't really know that school was reopening. And then that day when we found out, then I was able to just kind of walk them through what I know and what it might look like. So I think going into the weekend, I think if we didn't have that discussion, their minds would have been all wandering and really worried about the idea of returning back to school. And then we just finished off with talking about celebrations. How can we celebrate or finish off the year with only a certain number of kids coming back? And so we just brainstormed. One of the parents said, oh, why don't we just have a meetup at the local park and just kind of physically distance. I mean, that didn't happen because of other things, but that was a plan that we had. And so it was just nice to get the community together to just reconnect.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to continue doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I think good. And parents get just excited when they see their school friends as they do. I mean, I typically walk my kids to school. So like there's that group that I always see. We always have our coffee and we don't text. We don't hang out outside of school, but it's like that friendly face you see every morning. Yeah. And like, I remember it was funny when you were first talking about that. I was thinking back like the first time one of those parents accidentally got in their kids' Google Meet with my kids. And I was like, hey, like, I don't even know your name, but hi. Like it's a moment, right? I want to answer. Kimberly is asking if you're the start of the group of a Facebook group, can you be shifted to someone else the following year? It can be, but I'm not sure if you would want to, Kimberly. So it depends on how you're going to set that up. But if it's your classroom and you shift to someone else, all those same people are going to be members of the group. So you'd have to clear them out, bring them back in. It's honestly potentially just easier to, I mean, you could just clear out kick everyone out and then invite the new group in. But if someone else has taken over, you probably want to start something new just so that the parents know that it's fresh and that there's no crossover. But there are ways to do that. Happy to help if you need help with that when the time comes. But I would just start a new one personally. So we're at about 49 minutes. I don't want to keep you all day long here since, you have to figure out how to teach and stuff still. So I love this kind of maybe have each of you share I'm trying to think of I don't know if advice or tips or whatever you want to share, like to everyone watching, maybe just sort of some thoughts you have, words of encouragement, inspiration, or something that you're doing right now to keep yourself level, right? And keep yourself balanced of where you need to be, because everything's so all over the place. Would you mind doing that? And put on you're all on the spot right now. Caitlyn, I'm making you go first too. So if everyone watching who might be, who's going through the same things you are or similar things in different realms and feeling all this up and down, how are you kind of keeping yourself where you need to be? How are you getting through it right now?
Sometimes it's just healthy to stay off social media for a little while, and to remind yourself as well that it's anxiety that's controlling a lot of what's going on with people right now. And so just trying to be positive about what's going to be happening this fall. I'm really looking forward to seeing my students, to seeing my colleagues, to getting back into a groove. And I think maintaining that positive outlook on all of this is going to help. I've also been trying really hard to spend some time just for me, and the Teach Better team's been really promoting that during this time very well. And 15 minutes, 20 minutes, an hour, whatever I need that day to get away and to rejuvenate myself. You can give, but if you're not feeding back into yourself, then you're just going to run out real fast. So take care of yourself, but also try to be as positive as possible. You control the narrative of your classroom.
Yep. Love it. Sami?
I love everything she just said. Everything is all checking the boxes off. And I love the whole idea, like we have our challenge for our ambassadors this week. We have our challenge to do our one day just for us. And that day is tomorrow, because this day is busy. Tomorrow is just me, no schoolwork, just my kids, and just doing family stuff tomorrow, kind of, because it's my last Thursday of summer, kind of. So we're just going to do family tomorrow. And that's the biggest thing, is finding that balance between your school kids and your home kids, because they both need you. And so trying to find that balance to keep everybody afloat is the hard part. And it takes a lot of years, and every year is a little bit different. This year is going to be way different, but when you have a good team at school and a good team at home, that makes everything a little bit easier.
Love it. Livia?
So I have this graphic that I always show to my students, and I draw it on the whiteboard, and what it is just stairs. And on it, there's the reason why I explain this to them is because everybody's in a different spot, right, on this staircase. And sometimes you are walking the staircase alone. And that's okay, because this is the time to reflect. It's a time to breathe. It's a time to be independent with your learning or whatever it is that you're dealing with or working on. And then sometimes, you're in the middle of the stairs, and there are people above you and there are people below you. And so sometimes you are that person that's on the higher steps. And and wherever you are, sometimes you can walk with somebody on the same step, right? So that's when you're collaborating with somebody and you're working together and things like that. And then sometimes you are just above somebody else on another step. So you are that person that's leaning down to hold their hand to pull them up. Or you are that person that's looking up to say, I need support, can you help me? And so when I draw this out, I see that as a community in terms of the students, in terms of the parents, in terms of me as a colleague, in terms of how I am with everyone. And we're in different spots for different things on different days, right? And to different people. And so I think for me, it's just recognizing where you are and to not compare yourself to what somebody might be doing that's on a higher step, and just know that wherever you are, there's support if you need it. I don't know how many times I've helped somebody and just felt so good about it, right? So there's that, offering of support as well. And I think the more that we could recognize that we're all on those stairs, right? That we're here to support each other and learn and grow with each other, that it's going to be okay. Whatever the situation is, whether it's face-to-face, hybrid, fully remote, we are all here to support each other, and we'll make it. We're going to do it, and we're going to do it well because we have each other. So that's what I'm going to leave you
I
with.
love it. Brad's trying to get hashtag the staircase trending, so let's just all get on Twitter and make that happen. If you're not already following these three amazing educators, please follow them, connect with them on Twitter so you can keep learning and growing and supporting each other. Livia, Sami, Caitlyn, thank you so much for jumping on and hanging out with me for almost an hour here and with our awesome family. The comments were like just crazy on fire this morning, which is just a testament to the three of you and the value you brought that was just starting all these conversations. I love it. That's my favorite part. So thank you.
Thank you for having
you.
us.
To everybody who was commenting and watching, thank you for hanging out with us for a while here. If you're listening on the podcast, it's obviously being replayed. Best place to do is get in on all social media, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, or Twitch at Teach Better Team, so you can get in here every morning, Monday through Friday for this week and next week at 9 a.m. And I don't know. We'll see. Maybe we'll keep going after next week, but we'll figure it out. So I keep joking about that, but now I'm getting serious. So thank you for coming in. Thank you. Appreciate it. The three of you, you're amazing. Thank you so much. And everyone just having an awesome, awesome day. Appreciate y'all.
Thank you.
See ya.